The recording is on, and open the chat. Chat is on. Perfect. Recording is on. Chat is on. I will mute everyone first. So mute all. Okay, perfect. And I would like to ask you to only talk when I ask you to talk. So don't just interrupt me when I'm talking, please. Appreciate it. So let's just generate a random number. Between which day is it? 1st of May. So between the 1st of April and 1st of May. Random number generator 1, 31. 30. Okay. 11. Okay, perfect. So we are backtesting the 11th of April. So let me just replay price to the 11th of April. Where is it actually? April, 11th of April. Okay, and 1 hour before the New York Open. Let me just check if it's fine. Yeah, 50 minutes. Yo, okay, perfect. So let's just start the session. Welcome everyone. My name is Marcel, but you know me. This will be this week's backtesting session, and we'll go through the 11th of April's New Year session. So let's just begin this analysis on the 4-hour chart, and we'll do a top-down analysis as usual. And just a question: what should we do before we start every single backtesting session, live session, and forward session? What should we do?
Check the news.
Check the news.
Check the news.
Check the news.
Exactly. Thank you. I will check the news for April 11th. Okay, perfect. Apply settings. Perfect. As you can see, on this day, only one news can be found, which is a medium impact news. So we don't really care about this. So I believe this day will be good. So news won't have impact on us. So we can freely trade without any worries. So I'll just begin the 4-hour analysis. Let me just remove this demand zone from down here. And yeah, I always keep these zones on my chart, the demand zone and the supply zone, because basically these are the two major zones for us. And every single movement is happening between these zones. This was the origin of the whole bullish order flow to the upside. So this demand zone was the origin of the whole bullish order flow to the upside. And this supply zone was the origin of this character changing movement to the downside and character changing movement right here too, which has lots of liquidity just below it, which has been split with this movement. Okay, so let's just start the analysis. What can we see on the 4-hour chart? We can see that price is reversed right here at this demand zone. I know we've talked about this scenario maybe 100 times, but we still have to talk about this because we are doing the backtesting session. So if you're doing the backtesting session or just doing your markups, anything, just go through the chart every single time, every single day, and just do the same analysis as you always do. So price has changed character here to the upside after tapping into this demand zone. This was a daily demand zone, and here was a huge upside movement. There was a change of character, tap of the demand zone that has caused a change of character, continuation break of structure to the upside, higher time frame change of character right here, liquidity split movement to the upside. But though I'm talking this fast about this movement because we don't really care about this price action region. We'll care about this price action region, but I just want to go through every single price action. So price has split the liquidity right here, created a downside movement, tapped into another demand zone right here, created another break of structure right here to the upside, created a pullback again to the downside here, created liquidity here again, swept the liquidity, tapped into a demand zone right here, created a last break of structure to the upside here, and almost tapped into this 4-hour supply zone. But basically, we can count this not tap as a mitigation because it has split all of the liquidity. It has almost filled out every single inefficiency at this region and almost tapped us into this supply zone. And even though it didn't tap into this supply zone, it created a huge inefficient movement to the downside, which was leading to a break of structure and change of character on several places, as you can see. Change of character, 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 change of character. So it changed character on every place, as you can see, and swept all of the liquidity from this region, swept all of this liquidity trend line. So basically, we can count this as a mitigation of this 4-hour supply zone. Okay, right now, let's just zoom in and take a look at what's happening actually at the last recent lead. And we'll care about this last recent lead because that's the session. Okay, as you can see, after a tap or not tap, it has created this huge movement to the downside and started a bearish structure, creating lower lows, lower highs over and over again, creating breakout structures here, 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 and the last breakout structure can be found right here to the downside, as you can see. So on this line, price has created the last breakout structure to the downside right here with this body closure, and this has been happened. We could say that from this supply zone up here, right? Okay, so I will just mark this supply zone out, because you might ask that why I'm not marking this supply zone out, because this supply zone is part of the liquidity. As you can see, here's a perfect liquidity line, which has been spread by this movement. Okay, so also price has changed character here to the upside. I mean, price is coming down, creating this bearish structure. And after the last low point has been created right here, and after the last supply has been formed right here, which was part of the liquidity, don't forget this. So after a last supply has been formed right here, it has changed character to the upside with this movement, right? But after changing character to the upside, it has stepped into the supply zone immediately, mitigated the supply zone, as you can see, mitigated the 50% of the supply zone, or even more than the 50% of the supply zone, and reversed to the downside immediately. So currently supply is in control, because price has changed character here to the upside, demand was partly in control. But after tapping into a supply zone, a 4-hour supply zone, supply took over control again, and we can expect bearish movements. And by just simply looking at the chart, simply looking at the 4-hour chart, we can simply assure that the price action is extremely bearish, right? As you can see, it's extremely bearish. If I just zoom out, you'll see it better that the price action is extremely bearish, creating series of lower lows and lower highs every single time, breaking through demand zones over and over and over again. And basically that's what's happening right now too. So the price action is extremely bearish, and we know that the higher time frame trend and the higher time frame controlling side is actually the supply, and we are expecting bearish trades right now at this moment. But we have to take a look at the 15-minute chart too, because the 4-hour is too high. The 4-hour is a too high time frame, because that just gives us the bias, that just gives us the overall direction and the higher time frame controlling side. But we need to know the 15-minute time frame too, and which zone is in control on the 15-minute, because that will leading us to our 1-minute entries. So the 4-hour chart is for the actual bias, the actual controlling side. The 15-minute is for the actual entry controlling side. So we really care about the 15-minute chart, because if we know the 15-minute bias and the 15-minute trend, we'll know what to trade on the 1-minute chart. Because if the 15-minute is bullish, then we'll simply aim for long opportunities. If the 15-minute is bearish, we'll simply aim for short opportunities. So we just identified that price has stepped into a 4-hour supply zone right here and reversed on it. So knowing that the 4-hour is bearish. Okay, let's just take a look at the 15-minute chart. Let's see what's here. As you can see, this was the 4-hour supply zone that has caused the last recent breakout structure here to the downside. Yeah, this was the last recent 4-hour supply zone. It had a liquidity. As you can see, there was liquidity inside of this supply zone. Here's a triple tap or double tap. This is the first tap, second tap, or this is the first, second, and third tap. So we had liquidity inside of this supply zone. And inside of the supply zone, we can find a good 15-minute refinement of this 4-hour zone, right? So as you can see, a perfect refinement of this 4-hour zone can be found on this candle. And the liquidity is leading up to this candle, right? Because here was the liquidity, and the liquidity has been spread by this movement to the upside, as you can see. Okay, and this supply has been perfectly tapped, and as I said on a 4-hour chart, price has tapped this supply zone and reversed immediately to the downside. What else can we identify right here? We can identify that actually the 15-minute trend starting from here was bullish, right? Because it has changed character with this movement to the upside right here and right here. So it was a strong change of character on the 15-minute chart. And starting from this point, price has created a bullish structure up to this supply zone, breaking structures over and over again right here, creating higher time frame change of characters, creating breakout structures over and over and over again. Okay, let's just mark out the 15-minute zones, because we care about the 15-minute zones the most. Okay. Let's just take a look at and aim for this price action region. What can we see right here? We can see that the last push, the last inefficient push, and the last breakout structure started from this demand zone right here. We can all agree on this one, right? As you can see, this candle has started the last inefficient push. This candle has swept all of the liquidity to the upside and started a huge inefficient push. And after this, price has created a V-shaped recovery, which has broke below this demand zone. And actually, the break of this demand zone has happened from this supply zone here, because this is a flip zone. As you can see, this can be identified as a perfect 15-minute flip zone, because let me just show it to you. Price was reacting on this demand zone. Price was coming up, creating this demand zone right here. Price is creating another breakout structure to the upside. tapping this supply zone. And after tapping into the supply zone, it reversed to the downside and tapped this demand zone. As you can see, there was a tap of this demand zone, reverse on this demand zone. Here was a reaction because price action was coming down. It was coming down, tapping into this demand zone, coming up, creating a bullish candle right here. So it was a reversal, rejection on this demand zone. This demand zone couldn't create enough impact to break structure to the upside right here. Once again, instead of breaking structure to the upside, it just lost its fuel, lost its power. And the flip has happened from this supply zone with this movement, as you can see. So I will just move this arrow right here. So this was the flipping movement. Price has stepped into this demand zone. Let me just change the color real quick, or we don't even care about the color. Okay, so price has tapped this demand zone with this movement. Bullish pressure. This bullish pressure wasn't strong enough to create a breakout structure to the upside, created a flip zone, and there's the flip zone. And as you can see, this flip zone has been already mitigated by the candle that has been printed right now. So the inefficiency has been filled up right here. So there's literally no inefficiency at this region because it has been filled up with this upside movement. The tap of this zone has happened. We'll refine this on the 5-minute chart also and see if the 5-minute has been tapped also. If the 5-minute has been tapped, then we'll aim for short opportunities. But mainly we'll simply just aim for short opportunities too, because yeah, the structure is extremely bearish. But let me just take a look at the 4-hour chart once again. And I just forgot to talk about this. I saw it, but I forgot to mention this. So as you can see, this movement has created lots of liquidity. I just wanted to mention this, but I forgot, sorry. So this movement has created lots of liquidity. So it's a double-sided knife because the pressure of the overall price action is extremely bearish, but we can see some liquidity right here at this region. So there's liquidity which is leading up to this supply zone, and that's why it's a double-sided knife, because sweep of this liquidity could also happen, and tap of this supply zone could also happen, and a reversal after the tap of this supply zone could also happen. But right now, just looking at the 50-minute chart, the signs are telling us that price is actually in a bearish trend right now on the 50-minute chart too, because price has created less breakout structure here to the downside on the 4-hour chart. Tap the 4-hour zone. Sorry, tap the 4-hour zone with this movement to the upside. 4-hour has been tapped. 50-minute has changed characters, so the fractal confirmation has happened on 2 time frames. So the 4-hour is turning to bearish. The 50-minute has turned into bearish after tapping into a 4-hour zone. And if the 1-minute chart can turn into bearish too, then all of the fractal confirmations will happen, and we'll be able to simply execute short trades down to some deeper demand area, which could be, let me just ask you to mark it out, which could be a potential demand zone target for the shorts. That's incorrect, Ramona? That's the correct, yes. That's the correct zone right here. The less recent 50-minute zone is this one right here. Please just remove the drawings. So this is the less recent 50-minute region that we could aim for. Okay. If price reaches this 50-minute demand zone, we could, and flips this demand zone actually, we could aim for deeper demand areas. But the first target or first short target is this demand zone right here, because we always aim for the less recent 50-minute zone, right? Right. So if price taps this 50-minute zone and flips this zone once again, then we'll be able to target some deeper demand area, which could be, mark it again, please. Which one? Yeah. For example, this could be the next recent demand zone that we could aim for if price flips this demand zone. Because as you can see, I don't know who marked it, but I believe it was Chilling Markets. Liquidity could be found right here. So as you can see, right here at this line, liquidity could be found. Here's a perfect tap of this liquidity line. This could be counted as a second tap. So second tap, third tap, liquidity has been formed just above this demand zone. And yeah, that could be a demand zone too, but this has caused the flip. As you can see, that was less recent supply zone. Price was coming up, mitigated the supply zone. This was a reaction candle, and from this demand zone, prices flipped this zone and created a strong change of character. So this could be actually our next demand zone after this demand zone, which we could aim for. But I believe in this session, this demand will be tapped, and after this session will be over, because this is too far away. And if price taps this zone, there won't be enough time, I believe, to actually create any movement and aim for another short opportunity. But we'll see. We'll see. So this is the first scenario. This is the high probability scenario, that if price, and not if, price has created a change of character after the 4-hour zone tap. So the criteria has been filled because after a 4-hour zone tap, we need a 15-minute change of character, right? So 15-minute change of character has happened after a 4-hour zone tap, and the 15-minute zone mitigation has happened after the 15-minute change of character. So the fractal confirmations are happening. So this is a high probability scenario if price changes character on the 1-minute chart too, and we'll be able to enter in a short trade targeting this demand zone down here. So this is our first scenario right here. This is our first scenario, but there's a possibility that the price just will break above the supply zone, which I believe won't happen because the bearish pressure is extremely hard, as you can see. So the fractal confirmations and everything are happening. So the bearish pressure is hard. So I believe this scenario won't even happen. So mainly I'll be looking for short opportunities. But if this supply zone breaks and this high point breaks, then the demand zone will be formed here, and we'll be able to enter on this demand zone and continuation to the upside, and we'll aim for the sweep of this liquidity line to the upside right here, as you can see. Okay. So is there anything about the 15-minute chart? Yeah, we could actually make more plans. Let's create some more plans for these demand zone right here, or these demand zones. I wouldn't really consider that as a supply zone because that has created literally nothing, basically just an inefficient movement. So that's not even a high criteria supply zone. The flip inefficiency, everything has started from here. That could be liquidity. But that's the less recent. And that's why I said if price can create a 1-minute change of character inside of the supply zone, then we'll aim for shorts. If price breaks over the supply zone, then we'll see what happened. There could be a possibility of the tap of the supply zone too. But if price can create a 1-minute change of character right here on the supply zone, the 15-minute supply zone, then the fractal confirmation will happen, as I said several times, and we'll be able to safely execute short trades down to this demand zone. Okay, let's just talk about these demand possibilities. Since, as I said, it's a double-edged knife, this demand could bring us some more possibilities. So the first one is price taps this demand zone. Let's say this is the 1-minute structure, so price is coming down to this demand zone and taps this demand zone. Because it's a counter trend trade, this could be considered as a counter trend trade because every single time frame has turned into bearish. On this 15-minute zone, we need, I want to ask you, what do we need on this 15-minute demand zone? What do we need on this 15-minute demand zone?
50-minute watch.
Not the 15-minute change of character, and that's not right. These drawings are not right.
Strong short.
Exactly, I don't know who said it, but the strong change of character. We need a strong change of character, thank you. Because, remove these drawings, please. We need a strong change of character because this was less Wednesday webinars topic. If the trend is a counter trend trade, if you're aiming for a counter trend trade and you're aiming for a reversal, you need a strong change of character because the weak change of character in a counter trend trade isn't enough. So if the demand is being tapped right here, we need a strong change of character to the upside. So it leads to structural high point breaks. So we need to see the break of this structural high point and need to see the break of this structural high point. If only one of the structural high points are being broken, that won't be enough to reverse price. Because this is a counter trend movement. Because if this movement happens, every single time frame has turned into bearish. Because the 4-hour is bearish because it created a huge break of structure to the downside. The 15-minute is bearish because it created a change of character and continuation to the downside. The 1-minute is bearish because it's following a bearish structure of the higher time frames. So we need a strong change of character to actually confirm a counter trend trade. If a strong change of character happens right here on this demand zone, then we'll be able to execute a demand trade right here. If the strong change of character can't happen, then we can expect the continuation of the bearish order flow. So if the strong change of character doesn't happen right here, and let's say price steps into the supply zone and reverses to downside, then we'll be able to execute short opportunities down to this less recent demand zone below this demand zone. So we could execute long opportunities, short opportunities down to this demand zone. So basically, these are the lining up scenarios for this session, for this backtesting session. And I believe we've talked about every single scenario that could possibly happen in this session. Right now, all we have to do is adapt. We've built a plan for every single scenario. We have a plan. We have a narrative for every single possible price action in this session. So basically, all we have to do now is switch to the 5-minute chart and refine these zones. And if I refine this zone, we will have a bigger zone. But I believe, yeah, I will refine it. If I refine this zone, we will have this zone right here. This will be a refinement. If I refine this zone, we will have this zone right here because the break of the zone, the demand zone and change of characters actually happened from this supply zone right here, because as you can see, price is coming down, mitigating this zone, reversal, once again, reversal, and the break has happened from this supply zone. And as you can see, this supply zone has been already tapped. So as I said, if the mitigation of this 5-minute supply zone inside of the 15-minute zone has happened, then we can expect a 1-minute change of character and 1-minute continuation to the downside. Okay, so we have a plan for every single time frame. Let me just drink a sip. Okay, I will just switch to the 1-minute chart now and start the backtesting session. Let's see what we got here. As you can see, the mitigation has happened right here. Okay, so let's just play price forward. We have a plan. Our main plan, our main narrative is to aim for shorts after the tap of this 15-minute and 5-minute zone. And the main narrative is to wait for a change of character to the downside, wait for some good entry criteria, for example, liquidity creation, and wait for a continuation down to this demand zone right here. So this is our major plan. If anything other happens, then we'll build another plan for that scenario. So let's just aim for this major plan first. Okay, I just play price action. Let's see. Okay. As you can see, actually, this is the last recent demand zone below the liquidity. This was the last recent demand zone right here, which has caused breakout structure and change of character right here. But I believe this will be broken because these are lunchtime areas, as you can see. So all of these are lunchtime areas. Let's see what happened. Price is building up liquidity. Okay, and the change of character has happened to the downside. So the 1-minute change of character to the downside has happened. As you can see, here was the structural low point. This was a 5-minute structural low point because this has created the last 5-minute low. This was the last 5-minute pullback. And from this step of the 5-minute zone, price has created the last 5-minute breakout structure here to the downside. So the 5-minute breakout structure has happened to the downside. And actually, the breakout structure has happened. Let me just remove these drawings. The breakout structure has happened from this zone, as you can see from this candle. But this candle is heavily part of the liquidity. As you can see, there could be a perfect liquidity trend line found because this has been touched several times. And this is a liquidity trend line. These are not lining up candles. This is a liquidity trend line because price was mitigating this zone, coming down, coming up, touching the trend line, coming down once again, coming up, touching the trend line, coming down, coming up once again, touching the trend line, coming down, coming up, touching the trend line. So this is a perfect liquidity trend line built up for some upper areas. Maybe this one. This is a liquidity trend line built up for this area because the last recent zone above the liquidity could actually hold a sleep and reverse price. But there's a problem. And yeah, this supply has caused the change of character to the downside right here. So the original change of character has been caused by this supply zone, and there's liquidity just below this supply zone. But as I said, there's a problem with this zone. The problem is that this is part of the lunchtime zone. This is heavily part of the lunchtime zone, not heavily, but actually it's in the last 4 minutes. Let me remove this. Thank you. So it's in the last 4 minutes. As you can see, if I turn on the flipping fake zones indicator, this shows that this is a fake zone. So this is the lunchtime zone. So we can't really put a limit order on this zone, but we can wait for confirmation on this zone. Yeah, that could be a supply zone, but I believe that isn't really a strong supply zone. I won't really count on that supply zone, considering all of this liquidity and basically the origin. Please guys, just don't draw on my screen because it's annoying. Only draw on my screen if I ask you to draw on my screen, because if I'm talking and actually explaining things, it's just tempting to see the drawings on my screen because it's frustrating my brain. So thank you. Okay, so I wouldn't really consider this zone as a supply zone because yeah, it's not really good for me. So let's just play a price forward. And that supply zone has been swept, as you can see. More liquidity is being created. More liquidity has been created, as you can see. Right here, right now, perfect double tap can be found because here was the first touch, here was the second touch. So more liquidity has been created for this zone. So there's a high chance for this supply zone to reverse price to the downside. So we can really expect a reversal and confirmation on this supply zone. But we can't put a direct limit order in the supply because it's still part of the lunchtime area. It's still part of the wake zones. So I believe the sweep of this liquidity will happen, and this supply tap will happen also, and the reversal might be happen right here. But if price can't reverse on this supply zone, then we have some upper supply areas right here at this region. As you can see, we could mark this supply zone out. So if the reversal can't happen on this lunchtime area, then price might come up to this upper supply area. So we have to see, we have a plan. If price taps this supply zone and creates a change of character, we'll enter in a trade. If price breaks above this supply zone and taps this upper supply area, we'll wait for another change of character and we'll be in a trade. So that's our major plan right here. Let's see what's actually happening. Okay. There's a continuation. There's a sweep happening. Okay, huge bearish impulse to the upside. Let's see if there was any demand zone. As you can see, price is reversed in the middle of nowhere. So literally price has stepped into no demand zone right here at this region. There was no demand tap right here. It just reversed in the middle of the inefficiency. So what we are waiting for right now is the tap of this zone or this upper zone right here. I just play price forward. Okay, more liquidity creation, as you can see. So perfect liquidity has been formed for this zone. And if it wasn't a lunchtime zone, so if the supply zone wasn't a lunchtime zone, I would freely use an entry limit on this supply zone because this is a perfect scenario, as you can see. Basically, it's my favorite scenario, right? Let me just draw it for you. There was a 5-minute supply zone. There was a 5-minute supply zone that has been tapped. After a tap of this 5-minute supply zone, sorry, let me just move it a little bit above. So there was a 5-minute supply zone. Here was an inversion movement to the downside. After this, price has created this bullish structure to the upside, tap this supply zone, tap this 5-minute supply zone, change character after a tap of this supply zone. And after a character change movement to the downside, it built up the first tap of the liquidity, created a breaker structure to the downside. Then it came back up to create another tap of the liquidity, created another breaker structure to the downside, created another tap of the liquidity. Right here, as you can see, it has created the third tap of the liquidity. And all of this liquidity line has been created for this supply zone, for this character changing supply zone right here, which has changed character right here to the downside. So there was a character changing movement right here to the downside, which has been started from this supply. As you can see, here was the character changing movement, which has changed character right here. So basically, this is my favorite setup. If you read the PDF or if you've seen any of my recap videos, this is my favorite setup ever. And if this supply zone wasn't the lunchtime zone, I would freely use a risk and limit on this supply zone because this is a perfect setup for me. But since this is a supply zone which has formed in the lunchtime area, I'm not setting any limit order, risk limit order on this supply zone because this could be easily swept. So let's just see if the liquidity sweep happens and which supply zone will hold the liquidity sweep. If this supply or this supply will hold the liquidity sweep. Okay, tap has happened. Tap has happened. Okay, there might be a sweep of this. Okay, and a strong change of characters happened. Perfect. So what can we see here? We can see that there was the less recent demand zone right here at this region. As you can see, this was the less recent demand zone that has caused the liquidity sweeping movement. And let me just change the color. So this was the less recent demand zone that has caused the liquidity sweep and caused this tap of this supply zone. Prices reacted on this demand zone. As you can see, there was a reaction, couldn't create another breakout structure to the upside. So actually it has lost its power. So there's a sign that the bullish pressure will be weakened and we'll be able to execute short opportunities to the downside. The flip has happened, as you can see, because there was an upside movement, supply reaction. So supply was in control at the tap of this supply zone. Demand reaction, demand was in control, couldn't break above this supply zone. Demand was still in control, but after the break of this demand zone, supply took over control fully. And this is a confirmation entry. This is a double confirmation entry because there was a 5-minute supply zone that has created a breakout structure to the downside, tap of this supply zone. After this breakout structure on the 5-minute, once again, bearish structure, liquidity, tap of the extreme once again. Just notice the pattern. There was an extreme, breakout structure, extreme tap. There was a breakout structure, extreme tap. There's a change of character after tapping into this supply zone. There's a change of character, actually a flip scenario. And right now we can find the good supply zone, which could be this one because the inefficiency has started from this week, as you can see. So the inefficient push, inefficient change of character and flip has started from this supply zone up here, which is a pretty small supply zone in this case, but still the supply zone. Okay, I would freely set a limit order on this supply zone. And let me tell you why. I know maybe you're saying that there's a liquidity about this supply zone. As you can see, here's liquidity. but this liquidity is not directly above the supply zone. So this supply is not directly part of the liquidity. If this would have been our supply zone, that this supply will be directly part of our liquidity, but this isn't. And if price sweeps this liquidity and sweeps us out from this trade, that's perfectly fine for me, because if price sweeps this liquidity, it will tap into this supply zone and we'll be able to find another short scenario on this supply tab. Okay, so let me just see the stop loss right here. The 2-pip stop loss actually covers the liquidity. As you can see, the 2-pip stop loss covers the liquidity. So the stop loss line is just above the liquidity line, which is not enough in this case. So in this case, I would rather use the 1.5 pip stop loss, because if I use the 1.5 pip stop loss and this liquidity will be swept out, then it doesn't really matter if I use the 1.5 pip stop loss or the 2-pip stop loss, because actually, as you can see, this additional 0.5 pip stop loss doesn't really give any more space to us in case the liquidity sweep happens. So if I'm using the 1.5 pip stop loss, will be swept if the liquidity sweep happens. If I'm using the 2-pip stop loss, will be swept if the liquidity sweep happens. So it doesn't really make any difference. So let's just use the 1.5 pip stop loss in this case, and let's see what happens. We've been tagged in the trade. Yeah, it's a tag actually. It's a perfect tag. Okay, let me just read the comments because I saw that some of you had said something. Also, we could expect a deeper mitigation, but the continuation has happened. A real strong continuation has happened, as you can see. There was a demand tab, supply tab somewhere right here. And the real strong confirmation has happened from this supply zone, as you can see. Basically, it broke structure to the downside. Sorry, somebody's calling me. Let me just skip it. Okay, so there was a real strong confirmation and the continuation that has been caused by this supply tab. So basically, mitigated the maybe 20% of the supply zone, but it's still collecting enough orders to reverse price to the downside, and it was still strong enough to create another breakout structure and another breakout structure to the downside. And that's why I said, if the 50%, 20% mitigation wasn't enough, then this liquidity will be swept, because this is a hard liquidity line, as you can see right here. This could be considered as a high liquidity line. If the 20% mitigation wasn't enough for us, then we'll be swept out from this trade. But if it was enough, then we'll still be in this trade, and we'll have a runner. So we are just actually, please just mute yourselves. So actually, we are just lining up every single scenario because we have a plan if the sweep happens. If the sweep happens, then this supply will be tapped. The deeper mitigation will happen right here. This supply tap will happen, and we'll aim for another change of character trade right here, and we'll be able to enter in another trade. So we have a plan for every single scenario. Basically, I could just simply use a double limit order on this supply zone up here and this supply zone up here. And that could be fine too. But I'm more like, I like to confirm my entries. I like to confirm my POIs. So for the short opportunity, for the short trade, we'll be aiming for the next recent 15-minute demand zone, which is this one, as I said. Because as you can see, after the continuation and break of this demand zone, price has mitigated no demand zone at this case. So price isn't coming from an unmitigated zone. So basically, this is a really, really, really high criteria entry. Because, let me just track the criteria. Sorry, let me just ask a question. Do you want me to track the criteria? The question is, do you want me to track the criteria for this trade? Okay, I will. Remove it, please. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So the criteria. Once again, there was a higher time frame. There was a higher time. I don't know why you did this. There was a higher time frame, 15-minute change of character right here. So the higher time frame, 15-minute change of character is being lined up. First criteria. After this, liquidity has been created for the 5-minute zone. Basically, there was a 5-minute zone, and there was liquidity for the 5-minute zone, as you can see. So liquidity has been swept into this 5-minute zone. I removed the 5-minute zone from here because it was annoying for me, and I want to keep my charts clean. So there was a liquidity sweep into this 5-minute POI, which is the second criteria. After this, price has changed character and tapped first it has tapped the 5-minute zone, created a V-shaped recovery. As you can see, there was a tap of the 5-minute zone and V-shaped recovery to the downside immediately. Third criteria, change of character on several places is fourth criteria. Here was a change of character, and here was a change of character. Liquidity built up for the supply zone. Fourth criteria. Let me just remove this. After the liquidity sweeping movement, prices tapped this supply zone and created another reversal to the downside and swept liquidity once again to the downside. As you can see, here was a liquidity built up. Here was a demand zone. So this was a character changing movement after the confirmation. So this is a flip zone and character changing movement for the fifth criteria. There was a liquidity sweeping movement for sixth criteria. And basically I could just write all of the criteria right here. So this is a really, really high criteria trade for me. The only bad thing about this trade is there's liquidity just above our entry, but our entry is not directly part of the liquidity. But there's still a chance that price will sweep this liquidity line. Okay, let's just see what happens. Reaction, perfection. Okay, so at this region, we can put our stop loss into break even because prices broke structure to the downside right here. So our stop loss is right now at break even. Okay, I will just mark this demand zone out because this demand zone has started the less recent inefficient push and liquidity sweeping movement to the upside, as you can see. So this inefficient movement has started from this demand zone right here. Okay. Our stop loss is in break even. Price is reacting on this demand zone. As you can see, there's a reaction. So I wouldn't really put an entry limit on this supply zone. I will still wait a confirmation for this supply. Let me just change the color because this supply zone has caused the break of structure here to the downside. As you can see, there was a break of structure which has been caused by this supply zone with inversion push, but price has mitigated this demand zone. So I will just wait for a confirmation. Okay, that hasn't been even tapped. As you can see, price is created. It did not break structure to the downside yet because as you can see, there wasn't a break of structure to the downside yet. So I won't count this as a break of structure until it breaks below with body. Okay, still no break of structure. And there's the break of structure. Okay, the break of structure. Sorry.
Can I ask a question? Because this is what's happening with me. I'm getting sometimes confused when I have these type of continuation trades. Can I ask a question?
Just make it real quick, please.
Yeah. Can we consider this region to take from continuation and consider this one liquidity now? Or no?
Yeah, actually you can. Actually, you can if
Okay.
you want to. But if price, for example, creates another liquidity for this zone, so there will be another liquidity for this zone, which has caused the actual break of structure, then I would rather use this zone and not this one. But if price just reverses right here and doesn't create another liquidity scenario for this supply zone, I would go for this zone.
Yeah. Okay. Very, very clear. Thank you, man.
You're welcome. So let's just see. I will just mark this supply zone out once again. So it will be much cleaner. And actually, you know what? I will set a limit order on this supply zone too, only 50%. But if there will be another scenario or even the tap of this demand zone, I will remove this order limit from here. So I just set another order limit right here. And this region, perfect. Aiming for this demand zone once again. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay. Tap has happened. So I will remove this order from here, but I will still keep this supply zone right here because it has caused the less recent break of structure, and we could expect a reaction on this supply zone. We could actually expect a reaction on this supply zone. And this is a really, really strong supply zone for us. Let me just tell you why. Do you remember the start of this? Sorry. Do you remember the start of the session? What I was talking about what if this demand zone is being tapped? Do you remember? Anyone?
Bullish
What are we
bias.
waiting for right here?
Bullish entry. Bullish confirmation.
Bullish confirmation, but who said this wrong?
Strong change of character.
Exactly. Thank you, guys. You remembered it well. If this demand zone is being tapped, as I said, it's a counter trend opportunity. So if a long opportunity forms, we need to wait for a strong change of character. Because if price changes character here on one place, that will be a weak change of character in a counter trend trade. And you can't open a position on a weak change of character And that's why I'm keeping the supply zone up here, because this supply zone is up here. We'll be able to expect a reaction on this supply zone. And if the break of this supply zone happens, there will be a strong change of character. And if the strong change of character happens, then we'll be able to open a long position based on the strong change of character, based on the strong character changing demand zone somewhere around here. Okay, so that's the plan. The first trade did hit TP, as you can see. I will just close this zone. The risk reward ratio was 1 to 14. Perfect. So we have another plan. That's why we have built a plan. That's why we built a narrative actually for the whole session. We had a plan for every single scenario. We had a plan if what happens if the change of character happens here. We had a plan on what happens if the demand is being tapped here. So we had a plan for every single scenario, right? Right. So the demand taps happened. So we are waiting for a strong change of character / confirmation on this supply zone here. That's our plan. Let's see what happens. Okay, actually, another supply zone has formed and the 50% mitigation has happened on this demand zone. So right now, I will just remove this supply. I will just keep this supply because it's still a strong supply. This is our character changing line right here. This is our strong change of character. Because as you can see, here was a downside movement, upside movement, downside movement, upside movement, downside movement. So this is a weak change of character line, and this is a strong change of character line. So we have a new plan, but I'm still keeping this supply zone here because this is still a strong supply zone, which has caused the last recent breakout structure to the downside and the flip zone right here. So I'm still keeping the supply zone. Okay, the tap of the last supply zone has happened. Right here, as you can see, price has tapped into this supply zone. Let's see if the strong change of character can happen. No, it has reacted on it. I will just move it to the top. Okay. And actually, as you can see, price has created liquidity for this zone. I will just remove this and write it as liquidity. Price has created liquidity for this zone, for this supply zone. But it will be still risky to enter with a short limit on this trade because price is coming from unmitigated 15-minute zone. But our main trend is still bearish. So this is a good supply zone for us. We are waiting for a reaction on this supply zone. But there's a chance that price will just simply break below this demand zone and there will be a new supply zone. And there's a chance that price will just simply break over this supply zone and create a flip scenario. And there's a chance that price will create a strong change of character, of course, too. And there's a possibility for everything, but we have a plan for every single scenario. And price has actually swept some liquidity here, as you can see, because there's a huge liquidity sweeping candle lining up right here. Yeah, there was liquidity inside of this demand zone. So this was a liquidity sweeping candle. So price has swept liquidity from below this demand zone with this candle. And as you can see, after the liquidity sweeping movement, it's reversing to the upside. So let's see what happens. If price can break below this structural high point, so it can create the change of character to the upside, then I still wait for the break of this demand zone and I will still aim for short opportunities. If price can break above this supply zone and not break above the supply zone, if price can create a strong change of character right here to the upside, then I will aim for long opportunities. But let's see what happens. Okay, there's a change of character actually. I will just mark it back as a change of character. Check. Strong. So the strong change of character has happened, as you can see. And no, this can be considered as a breakout structure because this wasn't a body closure to the downside. So this was just a liquidity sweeping candle. But this candle, this liquidity sweeping candle has started an inefficient movement to the upside, which was leading to a change of character to the upside. So this demand zone, this huge demand zone, is too huge to be a 1-minute demand zone. So we need a confirmation on this demand zone. So I won't put a limit order directly on this demand zone. So this demand zone, this huge demand zone has started the movement, which was leading to a strong change of character here to the upside. Okay, as you can see, price is reacted on this supply zone. It's currently reacting on this. Okay, there's a reaction on this supply zone. I would actually mainly aim for long opportunities now because that's lining up with our plan. The long opportunities are lining up with our plan because the original plan was if price taps this demand zone and creates a strong change of character, then we'll be able to enter in a long trade. That's our master major plan right here. And one more confluence for this plan is that prices split liquidity to the downside. With this movement, prices split liquidity to the downside, meaning all of the orders have been collected from this region. All of the stop losses have been collected from this region. That's why price could have created this impact movement to the upside. So the major plan right here will be if price taps this zone, mitigates this demand zone, and creates a change of character inside of this zone, I will be freely entering a long opportunity after the character changing movement right here. And the fact that this demand zone right here doesn't really require a strong change of character, just a weak change of character, is because this demand zone, this will be a confirmation of a confirmation. So if this demand zone will be confirmed, that the long term will be fully confirmed because price has changed character here to the upside on a strong change of character line, as you can see. And if price can change character inside of the character changing demand zone once again, then the full demand control will be confirmed. But the demands are still counter trend trade opportunities according to the higher time frame. So just don't confuse yourself. All of the demand trends right now are counter trend opportunities because the higher time frame is still extremely bearish. But you could simply aim for a long opportunity to some higher supply area. For example, this one. If price comes up to the supply area and splits the liquidity, then we'll be able to execute a long trade right here, take a counter trend trade opportunity up to the supply zone, or just simply 1-to-5 risk reward TP it, because I'm always hard TPing the counter trend trades at 1-to-5 risk reward ratio. And after this supply is being tapped, then we'll be able to continue the overall main trend to the downside. So as you can see, the possibilities are endless. It's infinity, as you can see. And that's why you have to build a plan for every single scenario. But right now, that's not a liquidity sweep because it has closed above this line with body closure, as you can see. Several body closures. There was a body closure and there was a body closure. So I wouldn't really call it as a liquidity sweep. Okay. The tap of the demand has happened. And the change of character has happened to the upside. And since this is a 1 minute demand zone, this is only a 1 minute demand zone, not a 50-minute or 4-hour. We need any kind of mitigation for this zone. If there's a 50-minute/4-hour zone, we need at least a 50% mitigation to count it as a strong mitigation. But for a 1 minute demand zone/supply zone, we need any kind of mitigation. And as you can see, price has mitigated this demand zone and changed character here to the upside. So there was a character changing line. So actually our overall plan is lining up. What just happened? Oh my God, sorry. Sorry, guys. Where was we? Right here. Okay. Okay. Oh, that's too much. Sorry, I spoiled the whole thing. Let's just go back. So there was a change of character after the character changing movement. So price has changed character here, a strong change of character right here to the upside. This POI was the character changing POI, and this POI has been confirmed by another change of character to the upside. So right now, I will be safely using a limit order on this freshly created demand zone right here. And I believe the 50% of this demand zone will be enough to cover the whole zone, but I don't know. Let's see. 1-to-5, yeah, it covers the zone. And let's just hard TP at 1-to-5 because this is a counter trend trade movement, and I'm always hard TPing at 1-to-5 risk reward ratio, all of the counter trend trades. So let's just see. That happened, as you can see, and let's see what happens after this. Okay. Okay. I will set this straight to break even because actually the break of this high has happened, as you can see right here, not with body closure, but liquidity has been built up for this, not anything. Liquidity has been built up right here, as you can see. So I will just set my break even to, stop loss to break even right now. Okay, it's going well. Okay, it's coming down. Okay, that's still another break even. Okay, perfect. TP hit on this trade once again. What's the time? And in 10 minutes, this session is ending, it's closing. So I wouldn't really aim for any other trade opportunities. but I'm just actually curious what will happen in this session. I'm actually expecting the tap of this supply zone here and the sweep of this overall liquidity line right here. As you can see, huge liquidity line has been formed here. First tap, second tap, third tap. So I'm actually expecting the sweep of this liquidity, as I said, and I'm expecting the tap of this supply zone, reverse on the supply zone, and continuation of the bearish movement. That's my plan right here for the after session. And it's working out perfectly. As you can see, that's what I was talking about. That you have to know which side of the market are you trading. You have to know if it's a counter trend trade or a pro trend trade, because if it's a counter trend trade, then you won't be able to actually hold it for long. But if it's a pro trend trade, then you'll be able to hold it for long, because as you can see, the plan was lining up. The plan was lining up perfectly, because we had a plan that we'll take short opportunities down to this demand zone. And if this demand is being tapped, then we'll aim for long opportunities to the upside. If demand is being tapped and creates a strong change of character, we'll aim for some higher supply areas. As you can see, the strong change of character has happened here. There was a confirmation of this character changing demand zone. Once again, there was a confirmation, counter trend trade movement. We didn't hold it up to this supply zone, but this could have been a 1-to-7 risk-reward ratio. So to some higher supply area tap of that supply, reversal, continuation to the downside. So basically that was our overall plan, which has worked out perfectly in this session. And that's why it is so important to build a plan for the whole session. That's why you have to build a plan on the 15-minute chart, on the 4-hour chart, on the 1-minute chart too, because you have to know what's actually happening inside of that price action. You have to know what's happening in that session, and you have to create a scenario for every single possibility. Because if you're just trading blindly without a plan, without a narrative, you'll get lost. As you can see, I wasn't get lost because I had a plan for every single scenario. And as I said, if this demand is being tapped, I will need a strong change of character. And if the strong change of character doesn't happen, then I won't enter in a long trade. If the strong change of character happens, then I enter in a long trade up to some higher supply area. And that's it. Basically, that's it. I was saying that if price can change character on this supply zone, and I will look for a short opportunity. Price has changed character in the supply zone, tap of this supply zone, continuation. But I also said if price can't change character on this supply zone and tap this supply zone, then I will enter right here. So I had a plan for every single supply zone. I had a plan for every single scenario in this session. That's why you have to build a narrative. This is so important. Okay, let me just read the questions. If there's any question. Bro, now we wait on the 1-minute demand for the confirmation because price has created. Yes. We were waiting for a confirmation because price was coming from an unmitigated supply zone right here. That's why we were waiting for a confirmation right here. So you can just simply put a direct limit order on the demand zone because price was coming from an unmitigated supply zone, and which was a strong supply zone in this case. Okay, guys, have you got any questions about this session? I will just stop the recording or just leave it on for a few more minutes. Any questions, guys, about this session?
Yeah. Where's the unmitigated zone that you are talking about?
What do you mean?
You said that there's an unmitigated zone that wasn't tapped also.
For the previous answer?
Yeah.
This one. As you can see, this demand zone has changed character, strong change character here to the upside, but this demand zone, this push has tapped us into this supply zone. Here was a tap of this supply zone, and this supply zone was the origin of the breakout structure right here to the downside. So you can't put a direct limit order right here on this demand zone because you have to wait for a confirmation on this demand zone because price was coming from a supply zone.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Perfect. What about buffer for the last long? What do you mean buffer? Can we expect more pre-week analysis that gives? Yeah, Isaac, I will create more pre-week analysis on the next weekend. Basically, the plan right here is to, when there isn't a backtesting session on Sunday, I will create a pre-week analysis video for you. But if there's a backtesting session, then I won't create a pre-week analysis because, you know, it just takes up too much time. If you buffer slippage or entry, then that's a BA trade or commission. Could be. I don't know how this could have been worked out during the live market conditions, but during our backtesting session, it worked out, as you can see. But even if it was a failure, then we booked 14 risk-reward ratio. So it doesn't really matter. There's a chance that this could have been a break-even trade right here because of the slippage or because of the spreads, commission, anything. But overall, we booked almost 20% in this session with a pre-built plan. So we had a plan that we were building up for the whole session. And this is pretty crazy. That's why you have to build a plan. And as you can see, I even told you that price will react on this supply zone. And I even told you that price will create a counter trend movement up to this supply zone and reverse on this supply zone. And I didn't know this. I just built a narrative. Guys,
Marcel,
any
I
more?
have a question. Yeah.
Yeah, feel
If
free.
the price mitigated more than 50% of that candle and created church, would you open a position? Because there is a triple top, one top, second, and
What do you mean? Which zone do you mean? This one right here?
yeah. If it mitigated more than 50% and to create a church.
So you mean if price mitigated more than the 50% of this zone?
Yeah.
And create a change of character after mitigation, then I will be.
Yeah.
I don't know because actually there's liquidity.
Yeah, I'm asking about this.
There's liquidity, as you can see. More likely no. I would say no, because this entry point was so far away from the liquidity, as you can see. So this is so far away from this price action. But if price would have created a demand zone somewhere around here, then I would have considered that to open any position right here. More likely I wouldn't open any position if there's liquidity right here, so close to our entry point. But this trade is similar to this trade right here. Above this trade, there was liquidity, but the POI, the supply zone, wasn't directly part of the liquidity. This is similar to this trade. There was liquidity right here, but this POI, this 1 minute demand zone, wasn't directly part of the liquidity, as you can see. So there was lots of room between the liquidity and between the entry point.
Yeah, I got you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any more questions, guys? I will just stop the recording now.